Welcome back. Now, a laptop in the hands of every Class 1 pupil was one of the most memorable campaign promises in the Jubilee manifesto back in 2013. And it's our focus tonight on the national reminder. In fact, this week in the 2015-2016 audit report, Auditor General Edward Ouko questioned the whereabouts of 15 billion shillings for the digital literacy program. Now, the whole point of getting the laptops in the classroom was to entrench information and communication technology in the teaching and learning process in primary schools. 5 years on, the digital learning or literacy program, as it was later coined, has taken on different forms. But let's remind you about what it was initially meant to do. Now, this, of course, was during the Jubilee manifesto launch when that big promise was made. That promise would see all Standard 1 learners in 23,951 public primary schools in Kenya equipped with laptops. But something interesting happened. The plan shifted from laptops to tablets. Why? Well, cost implications, apparently, and a broadening of its agenda. Well, the ICT CS, Joe Musheru, would then explain what that was all about. And the rollout of the 30 billion shilling plan began in June of 2016. So far, according to the ICT Authority, over 1 million devices have been distributed to over 19,000 primary schools countrywide. In terms of supply, Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, a manufacturing plant, and More University Factory would help with assembly. Well, they were tasked with manufacturing the teacher digital devices, the learner digital devices, special needs education learner digital devices, servers, routers, as well as projectors. But the project would meet challenges, and the training of teachers in the new technology was not sufficient enough. Some teachers abandoned use of the tablets because they were not conversant. Now, others complained about the poor maintenance of the gadgets that needed repairs, while in some schools it boiled down to not having enough tablets to go around. Other challenges were the high consumption of power, no electricity, poor internet connectivity, and general time consumption of acquainting students to the technology. So how is the government looking to increase the gains of the program to ensure it is effective? Was the rollout well thought out to include all stakeholders, and were computer laboratories a better option as some educationists proposed? Well, joining me in studio now to help answer some of those questions are Paul Rono, the Director of Programs and Standards at the ICT Authority. Welcome. And we also have Jonathan Wesaya, an education expert with Tathmini Consulting. Thank you for joining me. Let me begin with you, Paul. From where you sit at the ICT Authority, can you say the laptop project was actually a success? Okay,
thank you, Victoria, for the invite. I think from ICT Authority, looking at the timelines and the phases of the project, I can say the project is a success. Because as we talk now, we have over 90% deployment of devices. We have trained over 92,000 teachers to be able to use the technology. We have also trained the curriculum support officers all over to be able to supervise the program on the ground. And we have also deployed ICT officers at the county level to support the program at the county level. Other part of the program, which is electricity to schools, we have been able to, through the Ministry of Energy, over 23,000 schools are now connected with power. And out of that program, as you can see, you already have 2 factories in the country assembling the devices, which is a plus.
So beyond the gadgets being deployed, how effective are they being used? And is it really helping in learning for the students that actually have them?
Sure, thank you. When you look at the deployment model for this program, there are critical components for it to be successful. One is to ensure that there is content in the devices and the teachers are adequately trained. But due to the complexity of the program, we started with the deployment of devices, and we went concurrently with training teachers for Class 1 and 2. And looking at the utilization and the complexity of the technology, the teachers who have been trained have been able to fully utilize the technology in the classroom.
Jonathan, let me bring you in here because you've actually interacted with the program on the ground, gone to several schools to see if this is really an effective program. Was this the best way to entrench ICT technology into learning in our classrooms?
Thank you, Victoria. I think the intention of the president was a noble intention. He spoke as a politician, but I want to direct my misgiving to the people who sit around the president who are employed to advise him. What we needed to do in this instance was to spread the president's intention in 3 phases. The first phase, in primary school, the cheapest way to manage technology in primary school is to have technology-related play. Let children get to know these devices, let it be play. If it were, a plug-and-play issue, the US will be doing this. They are the biggest manufacturers of laptops, but the US is not massively providing for laptops in primary schools. So what we needed to do is provide technology-related play in primary school. Make computer studies compulsory and have laboratories available in all secondary schools. The third phase will be a connection between the Higher Education Loans Board and the factories he's talking about. So that when you are admitted into a university, let's say Victoria is admitted Nairobi University, your admission letter comes with a laptop from Jomo Kenyatta University factory, and you are given credit if you pay for your laptop before you complete your studies. That is sustainable, that is practical. But what we are seeing now is literally wastage of resources. I have been to Samburu, Wajir, Isiolo, Garissa. We have roofs that have solar panels that were placed by the Rural Electrification Authority. Now, in a school that has 10 to 16 classes, they place the panels on the roof that is closest to the gate where they put the pole for the electricity grid.
Right.
That class has 2-3 sockets. That is the only place in that school where there is power. In some instances, the roofs have been blown off by wind. The local community was not involved in installation, so they do not know what to do. In Wajir, for example, there isn't a single expert on solar repairs. So a solar chloride battery that malfunctions literally needs to be brought to Nairobi. Now, what that means is it has to be flown. Literally flying a battery, or it has to take 4-5 days to move on the road. In Nairobi here, we have instances where teachers have used the equipment and the equipment malfunctioned and the head teachers surcharged the teacher. So other teachers resisted or withdrew support, saying, if I use this thing and it malfunctions and it becomes my own responsibility, then I'll rather not use it. So there is a general lack of a proper stakeholder engagement framework in the whole process.
Paul, let me have you answer that, because Jonathan raises very serious concerns when it comes to the practicality of the program, maintenance, which is a huge issue, not just of the gadgets, but also of the infrastructure meant to help them work. What is the ministry doing to ensure that what's happening in Samburu or even Wajir, as described by Jonathan, does not happen?
All right, thank you, Victoria. I think Jonathan's point of view could be a one case. Because when you look at the design of the program in terms of stakeholder involvement, we are talking about all the key stakeholders involved in the program. And the case of the solar panels, which we are talking about it, is a one case issue, because the over 4,000 solar panels installed, Victoria, are okay and running well and with a proper maintenance from the Ministry of Energy. That could be one case, and the people who are on the ground, which we have already deployed, the ICT officers, working together with Kenya Power, have put up a proper strategy to ensure that the program on the ground in terms of support, technical support, power issues, are well supported. The only thing with this program is that it is moving at a very high speed. And some of the things Jonathan is mentioning are things in the pipeline in terms of address by the government. And I think Jonathan also few of the fact that the Kenyan way of deployment, the model, is a model which is not sustainable. Let me tell you, it is a sustainable model because we have done studies all over the world to see how this program has been run. Leave alone US. Let us talk about Finland, the leading in the world in terms of use of technology and in terms of education.
Okay,
those are the models we have used.
Let's bring it back here. In terms of the gadgets,
yes.
When students are interacting with these devices, what are they interacting with? What content do they have? We have a new curriculum that's coming in next year. Will that be actually on the devices?
All right, thank you. At the initial stages of the design of the laptop, it was just laptop to schools. But when the technical committee sat, they realized that there is more than deploying a gadget to school. And the issue of content came, and that is why KICD is there to develop the content. And as we talk now, all the devices in the school have got content for Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3. And the kids are interacting with content, not empty devices.
Jonathan, I see you shaking your head really quickly. Why is that?
It is not true to say that these devices have content. Victoria, if you look at the print, the textbook, the books that these learners need to have in school, we have problems with them. Publishers had a press conference on Friday saying they don't have material. KICD has not finished developing curriculum designs for them to publish. So what has been digitized to be put into this?
No, wait a minute. I don't agree. I don't agree with what you say.
Let Jonathan finish really quickly before you respond, Mr.
So we do not have sufficient print content. Digitization takes time. The approach the ministry has taken is not a sustainable one because these children, a class of 90 to 100 children with one teacher trained, you cannot tell me there is any learning happening when this teacher gets into class. Children are simply mesmerized by these devices, but we cannot say there is learning happening.
Okay, your response.
All right, one, there is content in the device, and I think there is a misconception of content. We are not talking about scan content. We are talking about interactive content. And when you go to every school with devices, Victoria, I challenge everybody, they find that there is content in all those devices.
So is that content impactful, which is what Jonathan is saying? It can be there. It's mesmerizing. The screen lights up. They see pictures and different graphics. But are they actually learning from that process?
Yes. The content, as we talk now, we are talking about updated content, where KICD, in their new content they develop every other time, there is a mechanism to install and update all the devices at the school level. And we have technical experts doing that. So as we talk now, the content developed by KICD, which is actually in the print, is the content which is also the digital content. And when we talk about the new curriculum which KICD is developing, they have made sure that they have integrated with this technology.
You're not convinced, Jonathan? I mean, as an educationist, what do you think is the better approach when it comes to incorporating technology?
The better approach would have been, and even using the example he went far and wide into Finland. Finland changed its education system by bringing on board a new breed of teachers who then led the process of changing the system. But here, we are doing it reverse. Literally, the horse has bolted and we are closing the stable. That is why this thing is not moving. We are not going to realize value for money. Even if we do this thing up to 2030, we will not realize value for money. The shorter way out of it, we have less than 40 teacher training colleges in Kenya. That will be a good start point for investment for the Ministry of Education. Get new teachers who are socialized on a technology platform, and that is how they are going to deliver the curriculum. They get into the system, that is how they do it. Without fear of contradiction, in many primary schools in Kenya, teachers who work in the lower primary are teachers who are about to retire, teachers who, the head teachers have gotten to a point to say, this one is incorrigible, let me just let them while away before they go. There are teachers who are difficult to administer. They are sent to lower primary because the threshold of expectations is still very low. Now, these are the teachers who have gone through the digital learning process training. One teacher, when they realized, the ministry realized it was not working, they went ahead and got what they are calling now an ICT champion. So they look around the staff establishment and say, Victoria is good with computers. They train you. But you may not be responsible for the lower primary school teaching. But also look at our class sizes. Our class sizes are growing. We are not employing more teachers. Some schools do not have the space to store this equipment. Right. We have schools where learners are still learning under trees. So you cannot tell me that a digital device is priority. Okay. We have schools where children don't have food, don't have water.
So let me ask this of you
let
very
me just
quickly.
First of all answer that.
Yeah.
First of all, the deployment of ICT and integration of ICT in education is a global agenda. And these are just solution learning tools in schools like textbooks. You cannot tell me you wait for every school in this country to get that level of, in terms of readiness, so that you can give them a textbook. A laptop will run so long as there is power. That is what we are looking for. And this is a program which has brought what is called fairness and equity.
Okay. Speaking
across
of that,
the country in terms of education.
Speaking of fairness and equity, a few months ago, the PSICT admitted that they could not account for some of the gadgets. They were lost. A third, at 15 billion shillings, also in the Auditor General report, whereabouts, they're not sure. Where is that money? Where are those gadgets? Okay. Thank you.
I'm aware the Auditor General did an audit in ICT Authority, and the report has been forwarded to Parliament, and I think a time will come when it will be called. However, the report from the Auditor General indicated that the purchase of the equipment, the ICT Authority used what is called the letter of credit, and they got 9 letters of credit. But looking at the design of this program, when you are importing goods outside, there is no other method you can use but you use an LC. So the Auditor General says, yes, you have used an LC, and we have gotten LC, 9 LCs for the 15 million money. That means, in terms of the report from the Auditor General, the ICT Authority gave the documents they require. And let me tell you, Victoria.
So that 15 million shillings can be accounted for from your
Yes, let me tell you. Even if we are to repeat again, we'll still use an LC.
What about the gadgets that went missing?
Let me put it first of all. Because importing 1 million devices, there is no other method but to use an LC, because it's bank to bank.
And the gadgets that went missing?
There are no gadgets which went missing, and I think we need to correct that one. Because when you are cutting these devices, there were 10 checkpoints. There was a checkpoint in the factory to make sure that we get the right device in terms of quality and quantity. When they arrive in Kenya, we also check in the warehouse. And when the devices were taken to school, one by one, they were inspected by the school and by a technical expert, and there is a record in the school which we can verify, and there is also a record at the County Director of Education. You can verify that those devices are there. No devices got lost. I think we are misleading the public here.
Okay, final remarks, Jonathan, as we wrap up, because we'll be here.
I think it will be misleading the nation if we say there are no devices lost. For the digital learning program, Bungoma County alone has over 500 devices lost. Some of them have been traced to Uganda. Some of them are being used to play music in bars.
No, let us
but what I want to say, what I want to say, using the government report, using the government report, when this pilot for digital learning program in primary school was beginning, a small pilot was being done in secondary schools. The Ministry of Education procured 3,320 laptops for secondary schools. When the Auditor General looked at the paperwork for those laptops and requested that they physically verify where those laptops are, 2,213 laptops cannot be accounted for. Those are worth 153,803,000. Now, that small fraction tells you, using the law of averages, that we have something, we have a skunk in the digital learning program in primary school.
No. How do you, you have to really answer that,
yes,
because people are wondering what is happening with these gadgets in terms, and this is taxpayer money.
Yes, let me just say this. I think Jonathan doesn't have the facts. First of all, the scope of the program does not involve the secondary schools. And I think what he's talking about is a different program altogether. This program is meant for all primary schools. So what he's talking about is a different program which is not.
I was very clear, it's a different program.
Yes. Now, let me go back to the program, the digital literacy program. And we are aware that there are devices which got lost in the school because of theft.
But you said no devices were lost.
No devices were lost in terms of receiving of the devices.
Do you mean that they were stolen?
Yes, some devices have been stolen.
So they went to their intended destination,
yes,
but then were stolen from those destinations, what you're saying?
Yes, they were stolen from the schools. And as we talk now, Victoria, once we realize that, and you know, those are things which is to do with other issues to do with the schools. We have put up, in every school, there is a strong room to store the devices. In addition to that, other stakeholders like Ministry of Interior have issued a circular to make sure that all those devices are returned and the ones which are in the school are well protected. So as we talk now, you know, those are things which could be beyond the project.
Okay, all right, we have to leave it there.
A strong room in a school that is under a tree.
We have to leave it there because there's a lot of questions even in terms of infrastructure and practicality when it comes to storing these devices. Thank you so much, Jonathan Wasaya and Paul Rono. And of course, I know this conversation will continue as people await. I saw a tweet, someone saying, my brother repeated class 1 3 times just so he could interact with the laptops and had not yet. So I mean, very
And we should be happy now because the laptops now are there for class 1, class 2, and 3.
Okay, thank you so much. And let's cross over now to Jeff as we wrap up here on Sunday Live. Jeff.
Indeed, Vicky. And let's not forget there was a picture of a woman in a market with one of the laptops supposedly, or was it a rally somewhere, right?
A rally, apparently. I wish we could have that photo
Remember
up
that
to
shot?
justify this mention.
Yeah. But Rono says none was stolen, right?
No, I think it's under
none were lost, but stolen.
Oh, none was lost. None was lost.
Nonetheless, they're not with the individuals that they're supposed to be with, which is the students.
But the loss we are talking about is about the school, at the school environment.
Oh, okay.
But we got all the devices.
Maybe they just lent it to the woman.
We'll have to investigate that further on the next National Reminder.
There you go. That's it for Sunday Live for this week. Thanks so much for being a part of this.